No. All right, let's do Instagram. Just getting our Instagram going and copy, pasting that in. Okay, I got it. All right, we are on. So, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Ground Up Show. My name is Alex Khalil. I'm your go-to realtor and mortgage broker, and with me is my co-host, Matt, formerly a partner at one of the most prolific housing architecture firms in the country. Out of the 97 million units in the US, his firm designed more than 250,000 of those. So yeah, when it comes to what works in home design, he knows his stuff. And he doesn't just make sure it looks good, he also makes sure it can stand up and not fall down. So we're gonna be kicking things off from the ground up, bringing you the inside scoop on everything real estate and design. We'll cover what's happening right here in Central Florida and tie it to the bigger trends across the country, so you know exactly how the local market connects to what's happening nationwide. And Matt, without any further ado, please take the floor.
I'm super excited to start this podcast with you, Alex. You know, your passion for real estate and mortgage lending, and kind of knowing the ins and outs of how a young entrepreneur gets started, I think is really exciting. So I'm really excited to do this with you. I'm a new-ish father. My daughter is almost 3 years old, so she's home right now. So there will be lots of distractions and possibly some co-hosting going on.
Hi, Avery.
Right now, Avery, you're on TV.
I'm on TV.
Yes.
I'm on TV.
Yeah. See, that's you right there.
I don't have a cute baby, but I do have fur babies.
No one.
Spongy.
No one.
You got a puppy running around somewhere, don't you?
I do. Here's my little one.
Daddy.
Getting
Yes,
big.
baby. Can you go find Grammy?
This is Sanji.
Ooh.
Yes, it's a One Piece reference for anybody who knows. But moving on. Yeah, this is my fur baby. He's not as cute as Avery, but he's a good boy.
It's hard to beat that. Well, you got a cute dog. Well, I see some friends on. I see some friends on Twitch and some friends on your Facebook and your Twitch as well. So I'm on my Twitch. So if you got chat comments, feel free to throw some commentary, questions, some hazing. I don't know, whatever you guys want to rip into us, that's fine too. Yeah. We're young-ish, we're experienced-ish. We probably have more questions than we do expertise. However, we do have some cool insights into some cool projects, some passion about some of the big developments going around town, and I think some insights into micro trends and local trends and opportunities for your young entrepreneurial startups. You know, whether you're looking to buy your own house or buy your second house. We've got some thoughts and ideas and some insights. So we'd like to share that and see where the community's at and see where there's questions from you all so that we can address them. But this is hopefully going to be kind of like a chat show where we get into it, talk about some cool stuff, look at some maps, look at some rates, look at some buildings and some design. I don't know. What do you want to add to that, Alex?
Yeah, that was great. So any insight with real estate, mortgage related things, I am happy to give my input, my 2 cents. Matt and I are really big on providing value to anybody who tunes in. So trust when I say that this isn't going to be like any average, gatekeeping kind of stuff. We're not gatekeeping. We're here to give you guys so much value that you can use it in your own life. If you're buying your first home, if you're building your first home, if that's something that you're interested in, if you want to get into investment property, but you don't know where to start, or you don't understand what it really truly, like keyword truly, takes to make money in this business, because anybody tells you it's easy is lying to you, but it's very rewarding. And once you get a nice flow figured out, it's really, there's a reason I'm passionate about what I do. So I've been doing real estate now about 8 years, since 2017. And I've been doing mortgage now 2.5 years. I wish I got into mortgage sooner, because I'm a math guy. I understand finances and debt and all the boring stuff that people don't typically like to talk about. I find it fun. I can talk about that stuff all day. Sometimes I have to kind of like keep in mind that not everybody is, but that's where Matt and I together are going to really be just combining the best of both worlds, design and real estate, because they do come hand in hand. Even if you're not investing and you're buying your forever home, there's going to be a lot that you're going to take away from this. So that's going to start me with our first thing, which is waking up with real estate design and the deal shaping tomorrow. Matt, would you like to take it from here?
Yeah, sure. So I saw some interesting things in the headlines recently. We're gonna get more into it in the upcoming future as far as the real details of it all. Let's see if I can share my screen here and go to. This is one of the more interesting websites, Growth Spotter. It's owned and managed by Orlando Sentinel. They do a really good job of sending investigators out to all the counties to see what's being permitted. This is probably one of the higher headlines right now, SB 180. We need to dig into it more, but it's a lot of it. It's about disaster relief and talking about what can get built when and where, and what jurisdictions can actually what they can keep from happening and what they can incentivize to happen. And the state is trying to make it much more developer friendly. So this is interesting. It's kind of leading to a little bit of there's kind of a moratorium, I think, right now on development until some of the stuff gets worked out. So it'll be interesting bill to keep our eye on. Got some other ones as well. Unicorp, Chuck Woodall's company, $73 million construction loan for luxury apartments. So this is talking about Horizons West. I'd like to show you guys a little bit about Horizons West for those that are really curious about it. But this is a great website for all of you that are trying to figure out what's happening in the Central Florida market. And we're going to dig into the other blogs around the state as well. But we do know Orlando the best because that's our backyard. This is the Fulcrum building. It's finally getting a new tenant, which is great. We love seeing the art movement really prolific in Orlando as the Main Streets program really takes off and gives some real placemaking to these different neighborhoods. So this is a great place where we're going to be covering a lot of these stories as well. I did want to jump into Horizons West when you think it's appropriate, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. Just so you guys know what we're going to be covering in today's pilot of a pilot, he's going to be going over that. We're going to be talking about rates right now. Should you buy? Should you wait? It's on everybody's mind, right? And supply and demand, it is a problem right now. So a lot of people are on the fence, and we're going to dive into all of this. Another topic we're going to talk about is why older listings often mean better negotiating power. So that's going to be one that I'm excited to share with all of you. And today's topic with Matt also is going to be how great design builds stronger communities. And we're going to go ahead and go into that. So without any further ado, my friend, take the floor.
Okay, yeah, sure. Let's see here. I thought I had this set up already, kid. This is a test pancake, as we call it. So, pardon the roughness. Yeah, so one of the places I wanted to talk about, because there was a lot of questions about this before, is Horizons West. So you can see it labeled over here on the west side of Orlando. Downtown Orlando is in this area right here, the crossroads.
Zoom in a little bit. I think
Yeah.
it's looking a little blurry.
Yeah, so we have downtown. I can turn on the roads, so it's a little easier to kind of get oriented.
Oh yeah, that looks a lot better.
So yeah, we have the east-west and we have I-4 kind of breaking Orlando into kind of four quadrants. You got the northwest, northeast, southwest, and southeast. When they added the 529, which loops, 429, which loops in, connects to I-4 on the south side of Disney, it really opened up this entire western area of Orlando. And there's this community called Horizons West that's kind of split between farmland to the further west and swamps and hammocks and forests, traditional Florida wildlife, wetlands to the east. And I've got a lot of mixed feelings on greenfield development. I prefer development to be infill and in gray field sites, and to leave as much wilderness natural as possible. But I'm a practical person, and I can kind of see how we need both. So what's interesting about Horizons West is just how fast it's developed. So if I go back into the timeline and I drop it back to like 1995, you can see that not only was there not the roads there, but we're looking at like it's orange groves. I mean, this is what the orange groves used to look like in Central Florida. So it's,
People don't realize a lot of Orlando and Central Florida literally was like Horizon West now, over a decade ago. And yeah, like you said, a lot of West Orlando, Groveland, Winter Garden. I mean, now everybody knows Winter Garden because it's so developed, but I think you're spot on with Horizon West being one of those places that builders are going to go in, land developers, builders, and that's their opportunity zone right there, right?
I don't think Horizon West is an opportunity zone, but it was there was a team of people, the Scrimshires and Ken Cup and a couple other guys that had this vision for Horizon West, and they saw the 429 road coming in, and they had this plan. My firm was a part of a lot of the apartment designing. I forget who was the master planner. I'm sure somebody that sees this will correct me on who was the master planner. There was a lot of landscape architects involved, but just to see how fast this community came up. So we'll go to 2005. Here we see it's still.
Back up.
Oh,
All right.
you got
Good
it.
to go. Yep.
So I'm skipping up to 2005. This is just prior to the last business cycle before the Great Financial Recession. You can see that there is kind of some town center type stuff being built over here on Independence Lane. We'll go farther forward, 2006. And here's the height of the recession. So they did get in the first economic cycle, they did get a lot of townhomes and houses built pretty quickly, and then I think it stopped for 3 or 4 years. You can see the roads being laid out. You can see at the interchange of I-4, it's still pretty much orange groves at this point in this picture.
Is that Lake County?
I think this is orange.
I know that's west. That's west of that's West Orlando.
Right.
So,
and until the the 429 came in. I mean, before the 429 came in, you had to really get out there by going west of Isleworth, right? And the lakes really were a big barrier around it from just going straight west from Orlando. But the 429 allowed this north-south connection via the Beltway.
Changed everything.
It changed everything, right? So you've got Winter Garden to the north, and you've got kind of Margaritaville and Disney to the south. So when people are asking about where's a great place to buy and move to, I mean, Horizon West is pretty appealing. You have to have that type of lifestyle though, where it's a little bit suburban. You're in an urban enclave where you've got a town center, and I'll show you that here. Keep on zooming forward and see how this development happened, how fast.
It's so interesting how you're able to go back and see that prior to them having the 429 up. You can see the developed land for the highways. And It's really cool because it definitely is Orange County. It's right there where it's about to be Lake County if you go a little bit more west. But that's great. Wow. This is Google Earth, huh?
Yeah. And so I think what's interesting about this, and what we should do in other later segments is there are websites we can show where the infrastructure is going, right? So a lot of developers that I talk to are really excited about northeast of Tampa, kind of Wesley Chapel, because they're putting in some major infrastructure roads that really promises a lot of connectivity, shortening people's commute to work and unlocking some of the land that isn't being developed. It's farmland and whatnot. And so again, going back, it's bittersweet because I love seeing growth and development, but I want to see as much of Florida's natural wilderness stay natural. And so it's what is smart growth and smart development. And I hope that this podcast, this show becomes a lot about that, about responsible development, good development, smart development, beautiful development, the built environment that makes our society healthier and stronger and better and more prosperous and successful. So that's where I'm coming at this from. What's really cool, so we worked on a few projects down here. This was a project that my firm worked on, Lake Walk at Hamlin. And we worked on a couple of the lodge at Hamlin as well. It's a great team from CBA that did this. Wasn't me personally. It was a very talented team, but a great client, great developer, a lot of foresight. They built in almost every single housing typology, which is super important. That you want a non-homogeneous community that has doctors, lawyers, teachers, artists, truck drivers, service industry. You want everybody in there. You don't want just 90% high earner doctors. You want a mix. It just makes a healthier ecosystem.
Yeah, so it's never fun to have just one community of one occupation. Imagine a whole community of doctors. It'd be so bad.
Well, you end up with these situations where people are commuting an hour to get anywhere because just the economy of a homogenous communities end up having very limited offerings as far as places to eat and services that you need. Where's your discount CPA going to live? Where all that kind of stuff. So, anyways, this is, I think, an interesting point. You can see now by 2025, Horizons West is definitely moving to the west. Some of these sites are not controlled by the initial visionaries of Horizon West. So there's other entrants into the market, and they're doing their own thing. And so you see a wide range of strategies. These typologies, these crescent-shaped buildings, I can tell you have probably one fire separation. They're probably 3 stories. They probably don't need an elevator. They may or may not have an elevator depending on the market forces. But they try to lay this out in kind of an urban environment, but kind of creating a grid and making it walkable. But they're restricted by how much parking they need because the market is demanding they provide a lot of parking. So you have this density gives you some more community space versus maybe one of these more traditional household type of homes where it's meant for a nuclear house, right? Where there's an intent that the family is going to have a child, if not when they buy the house, soon, whether this is a starter home or not. So that's what this typology kind of lends itself to. There's not a whole lot of public space that's provided in this community. It is consolidated, but it's not visible from every house, right? You've got to walk to it or drive to it or bike to it. Versus say this one, maybe there's a little bit more density, and so you can kind of see the amenities maybe a little bit. I don't know what's better, but it's just a different lifestyle, different technique. So one of the things that's really bizarre and interesting about Florida in terms of development patterns, it's different than a lot of other places, is that we do have kind of this Euclidean geometry, these weird shapes where people buy a plot of land, usually an old farm, and they develop all of it, and they develop it kind of like, not in a vacuum, but with the intent that it stands on its own. They're these fortress communities, and it's something that I think is it's unique to cities and urban growth that has come up, I would say, post 1980s, post 1970s maybe. So we're wrestling with a lot of challenges, whether it's stormwater and traffic and infrastructure. And so I'd like to talk more about that at future episodes. And I think it's really fascinating. And I think that this shows you opportunities for, either first home occupant owners or, the first flip. But this is an up and coming place. It's very fascinating. And yeah.
Cool. all those surrounding lakes, while you've been sharing the last part of this, it reminded me that we did in our last test video kind of thing. We had a viewer, Anthony Morello, ask about
Cherokee Sink.
Yeah, over in Tallahassee, Leon County.
Yeah, that's an interesting little place. I don't really know much about it, so let me double check to make sure that I have the right location.
And I just tagged Anthony, so maybe he can be able to tune in while we go over this. If not, he should be able to check it out after the video is back posted.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really curious. So I would love to have Anthony talk about it, what he loves about it, and what's so cool. But it's obviously it's kind of like a northern version of our Wekiva Springs that we have in Central Florida.
Is that it right there? The Cherokee Sink Trail? It's a trail?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there might be an actual Cherokee Sink. There's Wakula Springs right here on the Wakula River. So there's obviously a pretty massive amount of flow of water. We got to get some geologists on here to tell us about the hydrology of where that water is coming from. I assume that the water is coming from further north and just groundwater and then the pressure coming up through underneath the springs. I don't know how it works. I'd love to have someone educate me.
It's funny. I grew up a short part of my early childhood in Tallahassee. And I've never heard of this, but I mean, it is cool. But then again, I mean, not a lot of people I feel like know about sinkholes. I didn't know that the Devil's Den was a sinkhole until you shared that with me. I always just saw the photos and videos of the water and how beautiful it is, but I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it's surprising. I didn't even really. I realized growing up in Florida and Orlando that springs were a big deal. And I didn't realize the relationship to sinkholes and springs and just what's happening underneath our limestone bedrock until I went to Mexico and got educated by the archaeologists and the geologists there about how all of the bedrock and limestone dissolves in water and creates the cenotes. So the Devil's Den is really kind of a cenote.
It looks like it's pretty. Oh, we're still looking at Tallahassee right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where the sink is itself, because this looks like this is kind of flat, like a real spring. And we were talking about cenotes, but yeah, if Anthony's listening,
I'm sure when he tunes in, maybe he'll be able to give a comment. But just wanted to say shout out to you, Anthony. Thanks for giving us the question. We really want to have people engage and pretty much ask anything, any questions, anything really. And yeah, if you see this, just thank you. Shout out to you. I think this is a good time for us to maybe transition to another part of the topics we're going to be getting into today. What do you think we should go over from this? And we can always come back to looking more at the developments that you were going over earlier instead of the sinkhole in particular. I'm happy we were able to answer one of our viewer questions, or I guess not really answered because we're still
take a look at it.
Yeah, but to entertain it, I'll say. And it's pretty cool. No, it's pretty cool. I like trails. I like hiking. I'm one of those people who I don't see any reason where if I'm back in Tallahassee, I go to the Bar Street Trail head and over in like north of Oviedo here in Orlando.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think
I've got one. I'd like to at least share a couple. I got a couple of things I wanted to share. I got.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's go to the opportunity zones.
Okay.
Let's look at that. Let's talk about opportunity zones for a hot minute. Let's see. I gotta do stop share and then reshare.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is cool. So this is a big deal. So these are the qualified opportunity zones. So I'm not sure where exactly that Cherokee Sink is. But it's somewhere, I guess, in this area.
It's
right?
funny, it puts Tallahassee as an opportunity zone, pretty much like all there Leon County. I grew up in Killarn Estates, went to Gilchrist Elementary and Benton Hills Preparatory School in Tallahassee. So I'm literally looking, and that's like, it's funny, the green is going over where I grew up. And like those are.
So an opportunity zone for those that are joining, those who are listening, and I'm sure we're going to go into this on most episodes because it's such a big deal. But if you invest in a commercial enterprise in any of these districts across the state, across the country, they're in every state, and your local lobbyists, local legislators would have had a lobby to get that zone included. And if you build something in that zone, if you invest in that zone, if you invest in a building or a business in that zone, and you go to sell that building and business, if you hold on to it for 10 years, the opportunity zone legislation says you don't pay capital gains taxes when you go to sell it. So this is why you pay no capital gains taxes. So if you were to invest, $4 billion into Water Street, you would not pay capital gains taxes on that. If it goes to 10 billion or 20 billion, in 10 years, they would be all cash free. And part of the idea behind it is to really incentivize development into underserved and in places that have been ignored, that urban planners, designers, and advocates have all kind of earmarked as being these catalytic places or linchpins that could really make a big difference. So right now we're looking at the zones that are available for this in Tallahassee. I know a lot of the zones in Orlando.
Yeah, let's go to Orlando.
Because I know that pretty decently well. So we were looking at Horizons West, which is further over here, obviously because it's not in an opportunity zone. You can see a lot of downtown, west of downtown is the Paramore district is partially in it over here. But like where Camping World Stadium is, I guess it's going to be changed. The name's going to change pretty soon. All of that stuff out west is an opportunity zone. So when we were talking about
Rosemont,
Rosemont is right here, right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Rosemont's right here. So this is why this is a big deal for Rosemont is the golf course. An opportunity zone. There are restricted uses in an opportunity zone. You cannot have a golf course qualify for the benefits. You cannot have a strip club qualify for the benefits, a pawn store, a liquor store, a check writing store. There are a few restrictions of what you can't do, but you can't have a daycare. You can have an apartment business, whether that's I don't know if it has to be 4 units or more, but it's a couple of units. It can't be a single family house for rent. It has to be a multifamily. So that counts though. So if you develop a multifamily project and then you go to sell it, you will not pay capital gains taxes on it. You'll pay property taxes, you'll pay an income tax, but you won't pay capital gains tax. Pretty big deal. So
I think so, especially for big deals, like for big money deals. Yeah.
So we have UCF is over here. So there's an opportunity zone close by, kind of in that Union Park area. I think that's interesting of note. A really cool area is the Sodo area. So there are plans for the O line and a bike trail, and some of Orlando's one of Orlando's most beautiful train stations is down here, and no one knows about it because it's just kind of an industrial warehouse zone. So personally, I really think that this area, the Sodo east of I-4, is an amazing opportunity as far as for development and cool stuff. You got a huge employment down there with the hospitals, right? Orlando Health. So this is a really cool neighborhood, and there's a lot of higher value or higher cost houses up around Lake Como and Lake Copeland, and then some more affordable ones further south. So it's in a really cool zone. I think that those 3 areas that we just mentioned, around Lake Orlando, south of downtown, and around the university, are some good long-term. You got a lot of wind at your sails looking at those areas. I think on the Seminole County side, we look at Castleberry a lot for affordability.
Find that interesting.
And there's an opportunity zone there too. So again, this is maybe more this is thinking about commercial opportunities, not so much about your house personally, but more about a warehouse building, or if you wanted to buy a distressed asset, fix it up, work on it, rent it out, that kind of thing. Those are those opportunities you're looking at.
Well, I think that goes right back into our topic of, as you're going over this, how great design builds stronger communities. It's although the opportunity zones are probably more geared towards like commercial development, as you've been sharing, I think it's really important to have like areas like Winter Park 32789 wasn't as prominent as it is now, right? But I think it's really important that people understand that until a county is going to start investing in itself, so like the home prices will only, I won't say go higher, but I'll say the lifestyle of living at that property will be better. Like you'll have a better quality of life with a more developed community. Kind of like how you said over in Rosemont, they're not going to allow for like a strip club or certain type of stores over there, of businesses. But I'm sure that right now, although Rosemont isn't the most sought after area in Orlando, I think it will definitely be one of those sleepers that, in due time, 5 years time, people are going to be like, wow, it was really a good opportunity to buy here back in 2025. And now in 2030, when that comes, people are going to be like, wow, these prices really came, this area exploded.
Yeah.
That's what I see.
Florida's turning into a giant megapolis. I saw that it was in the last, from July 1st, 2023 to July 1st, 2024, 76,000 people moved to Orlando. Which I thought was a lot.
Reminds me, let's shift over to our next topic, which is supply and demand. It's a problem right now. And I think people need to really pay attention to the fact that there are reasons to why the market is what it is now. It's not like what we saw back in 2008. That was just a big old bubble that ended up bursting, and it was more on the fault of banks than it was on, I would say, the fault of real estate. It was just too easy for people to get loans back then, and now it's a lot more of of a process because they don't want that to be repeated again. But let's go ahead and here, let me share my screen here. So this is a pretty cool interactive map that I found. It goes over the different homes that are available in the nation right now. Obviously, you know, we got East, Midwest, West Coast, but we're going to focus on where we're at, which is Florida's market. So just to kind of, while you guys look at this here, let me make this bigger. Some key, oops, not my MLS. Key things to take note as you're looking at this. On the top right, when I hover over a certain city or county, it's going to give me whatever on the top left is the question. So we have all the homes, single family, median listing price. We could see days on market. So like if I click that, for example, right, and then let's say I go over Orange County, at the top right, we see that in Orange County, the median days on market is 47. At the bottom right, that's going to be more of like an indicator to, let's go back to single family, right? So the darker it is, the more inventory there is. So as you can see, South Florida, there's like 400,000 based on this with how dark it is of active inventory. And when I actually hover over it, let's go to Palm Beach County. There are 571,000 single family homes that are listed. And if we go to the median days on market, Palm Beach County, 64. Now, anybody who's been to Palm Beach knows it's pretty up there in price, right? So if we go to the median listing price, and this will be the last thing as we go over this interactive map before I shift over, Palm Beach County is $536,925. That's about the median listing price, whereas versus Orlando, it's in Orange County, $446,000. Now, let's focus more back on Orlando because that's where we're at. But that just gives you an idea of, for anybody watching, how this map works as we're going over it. So I'm going to focus on Orlando. Okay, we see at the top right, we see that median listing price. So let's see how many single family homes are available. In Orange County, we have 439,000 single family homes. I'm not putting in condos or anything.
We know that seems like so many homes for sale. That really does.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they're saying that the Orlando metro is only like 3 million people. So we're talking about almost a sixth of, you know, that's 16% of the houses are for sale. That doesn't seem right? Like that, I drive down my neighborhood, I don't see any other houses for sale, but that's.
Yeah, and you know what it is? So you're in a really nice neighborhood. So it's we have about 6 months plus of inventory. So by definition, we are in a seller's market right now. And this is nationwide really, but especially if we're focusing specifically on our markets here in Florida, Orlando is definitely in a buyer's market. Sellers are overpricing their homes, which is a problem because you're just adding to the fire of supply. I can't even really put it on the fault of sellers. It really does depend on who you work with. Your realtor, if they're going to take an overpriced listing, they're not doing you a service. You might seem like they're helping you by, you know, you're not leaving money on the table and you want to get as much as you can out of your house, but really you're shooting yourself in the foot. It's just adding to the supply issue. Simple economics. When supply is up and demand is low, the price has to come down.
You're on median days on the market, right? So while Orange County had one of the highest inventories, it's also interesting to see that it has one of the lowest times on the market. So so it's pretty hot here. I mean, it's a month and a half to buy a house on average, but I mean, it looks like it's one of the hottest markets. And you look at the other ones, and there was high prices, a lot of people moving, and longer time on the market. But the short time on the market means it's hot, right?
Yeah, it's definitely hotter. I think this is a good indication of when you see more days on market, it typically is an indicator that the price point is just higher. Not everybody can afford to buy property out in those markets. So, you know, for example,
what's that dark one in the middle that no one wants to live in?
Oh gosh, you know what? Here, I know Cape Coral is having some issues.
Cape Coral's a struggle.
Yeah, man. Look, their median days on market is 72, and they're still at a higher price point. Let's see, they're at a $469,000 price point versus Orlando's like 435, 440. And keep in mind, these homes that are in the median price point in Orlando, it says right here 439,000. Not all the houses in Orlando are really worth what people are asking for right now. And so you combine the supply issue with the fact that rates are they're not highest, but they're higher. So when you combine a higher rate with a higher price, you're just going to have an all around larger payment. And so people are on the fence because they're like thinking like the market's going to crash, rates are going to come down, all this stuff, this, that, and the third. And honestly, like if you've been having that mindset for the last 5 years, it's probably time to change it. And this isn't me trying to convince you to go buy a house tomorrow, right? But to understand why we have the problems we have right now, which is there's just a bunch of overpriced listings. Just because we're in a seller's market doesn't mean that people aren't buying real estate. To anybody tuning in, if you're hearing all the noise, okay, if there's one thing I can give you, understand me as a mortgage broker, I'm going to tell you these rates are a distraction. You should be using it more as like a guide to, you don't want to go over a certain payment, but really rates are relative to what it is you're paying for the house to get the payment that you're going to get. I say that rates are relative for payment, but equity is really what grows wealth, right? So you could buy a $500,000 house and have a super high payment, right? But what if it's really $1 million house and you just got it below market value? Now that's an extreme example, but is a several $1,000 payment really going to matter? At 500,000, is a $4,000 to $5,000 payment going to be something that keeps you from buying a house that's worth $1 million? And assuming you could sell it and cash out on that equity, if that's your goal, would you not want to do that? I mean, I know myself, I would like to do it. The house that I'm talking to you guys out of right now, I'm at an 8.125% rate. And I bought this house late last year, Q4. And my mortgage payment's $1,900. And I'm going to say it again, 8.125% interest rate. If I tell people just the rate and not what my payment is or how much I bought the house for, they would think I'm crazy. But let me show you why it's not crazy. And even now, if you were to buy, the rates today are better than they were the last 2 years. My people, if you bought in 22, 23, you would have, I mean, gosh, you see people overpaid for houses then and they're trying to sell it now and they're struggling. Imagine you got a higher rate too. You could be underwater on your payment. And just because, you know, a market's not going to crash like it did in 08 doesn't mean that people aren't struggling right now, or that foreclosures aren't going to happen, or that we're not going to see some ugly things. Here's this is on NAR, some stats where in June, obviously we're in August, there was 3.93 million units and the median home price then was 435. If we look at the interactive map, it's 439. And again, this equates to about a 6-month supply, which is more than like in COVID where we had a 3 to 4 month supply. But you remember how crazy that was, right, Matt? You remember how people were literally COVID through up until 2022 paying over appraised value for houses. Now, if you got during that time, you most likely got a better rate. So although they paid more for the house, their payments are a lot better now. So if they decided to rent it, they're cash flowing more, they're having better passive income than in someone who, let's say, bought within the last few years. I bought my dad a house in Winter Park a few years back. I paid $350 for it. And, you know, he's always telling me he wants to sell it because he doesn't want to pay $2,500 a month. But if I sold it right now, I will 100% most likely have a loss. So not every investment is a good one, but that doesn't mean it's not a learning experience. And that also doesn't mean that you can't still win, right? You just can't like if you buy stocks or crypto, right? And you throw $100 in or $1,000 and then you see it all go down. Are you going to sell it when it goes to zero? No. And if you do, probably need to have a talk, you know, because it's like, what else are you taking the risk for? This is anything that's worth it in life is going to have some sort of risk. And that goes with everything. So I think it's really important that people understand that the rates are a distraction. Here's an article by AP News where it says that literally it was updated yesterday. And I saw even on August 5th where the average rate on a 30-year mortgage has fallen to its lowest level in since April. So this is going to segue to the next topic. But before I go into that, I want to ask, Matt, do you have any 2 cents, anything you'd like to add from what I shared?
From a general philosophy standpoint, it's funny you brought up like crypto and stocks and stuff. I love trading crypto. I love trading stocks. One of my in both of those domains, I try to find ways of lowering my cost basis. So not necessarily dollar cost averaging, but lowering cost basis. So in crypto, there's a thing called staking. In stocks, we sell calls, right? So I try to buy 100 shares at a time and sell calls. It would be the equivalent of like owning your second house with the intent that you could rent it out.
Yeah. And another asset class that you're like you said, it's what you're doing is different from DCA, but I'm sure you DCA also. It's not everybody can put $10,000 at one time into a stock or a cryptocurrency, but if you're taking a percentage of your paycheck and you're investing over time, I mean, remember, you hear it all the time. It's a classic saying, you can't really time the market, right? And that goes for real estate. We don't know if Jerome Powell, head of the Fed, is going to drop the rates next Wednesday or whenever the next rate check is. Trump's on his ass. He has the fire on his ass. Like, Trump was like, why aren't you dropping the rates? And I mean, honestly, when you look at it, I think it's good that they're not, because unemployment's at 0 and people don't realize. That's
questionable. I mean, obviously he just fired the Bureau of Labor Statistics chief over this whole thing about the revisions, but
let me rephrase it. It's not like it used to be. It's still not good, and I agree with you. I think I'll be the first to say we've been in a recession now for years, and they just don't want to say it. And there is by definition what determines a recession, depression, and it's GDP, and they don't want to tell us, but hey, I ain't gonna say nothing about it because I like to stay in my lane and focus on what I know. And I think it doesn't matter whether we're in a buyer's market or a seller's market. My honest opinion is it's always a great time to buy real estate. It's not now. As I say,
you're like the Jim Cramer of real estate. There's always a bull market somewhere. I mean, you can find the right choice, the right opportunity somewhere. I was just looking 100%. At the domestic migration, right? So like there's a cool map of the United States, and you can see which countries had inflows or which states had inflows and which states had outflows of people. Let's see if I can pull that up. I had it up. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so it's interesting because and maybe I'm hopefully getting my stats correct. I lost you. Where are you? Okay. Hopefully I'm getting my stats correct, but we talked about 76,000 people moved into. I can't find my tab. I'm lost in my tabs. Where's the tab to share my screen?
Oh, here you go. Here, we got to remove mine. Add yours. You might have to, what you might have to do? You might have to stop screen sharing and then re-share whichever the right tab is.
I found it.
And to our new viewer, welcome. I've been doing a pretty bad job at saying hi to any new viewers that come in. Even if you're here popping in for a minute or two or 5 or the whole rest of the time we're here, really glad to have you. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. And we'd love to interact with you and have your questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, whatabouts, all that kind of stuff. Interaction would be great.
This button here.
So this is Resi Club Analytics. It's interesting. There's some big, obviously California, New York, and Illinois saw the largest outflows. And you look at Florida, and Florida had 64,000 people move in. But when you take in consideration that 76,000 people moved to Orlando, the state had a net negative outflow. And it was just that Orlando was the one that was picking up the weight for everybody else. I'm sure there was inflows to other cities as well, but I think that you probably saw like a net neutral in Tampa market and in the Miami markets. So I think that's interesting to point out. There are always these opportunities that occur, and people, especially we talk about like the housing developers, multifamily housing developers, they're looking for the wind at their sails, whether that's the infrastructure we talked about, the opportunity zones, what other big players are moving in to do some sort of entertainment district or something like that. And so a lot of them are kind of, they move with the crowd a little bit. And so I think that this show can kind of talk about that, where those opportunities are. You mentioned earlier, if I could do another screen share.
Yeah, absolutely.
We were talking about Cape Coral, and I just think that Cape Coral is one of the most fascinating places to observe if you're not familiar with. Trying to get to it. I'm sorry, I'm trying to talk at the same time as I'm trying to pull it up. So without further. So we were in Google Earth. For those of you who are not familiar with Cape Coral, this is literally like the place where when you hear the story, I've got some swampland in Florida to sell you. If you believe this, I got some swampland in Florida to sell you. This is the place. This is where that happened. So this is a massive designed, pre-planned community. And if we go back in time and look at how it was built, you just see a lot of these vacant lots. And this is the 90s.
Are you screen sharing?
Oh, am I not?
No. Here. Add to stage. There we go. Okay, now we can see. Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. So let me zoom back out for context. So Cape Coral, just south of Port Charlotte, south of Sarasota, south of St. Pete and Tampa, following the west coast of Florida on the Gulf. It promised to be a little bit more protected from hurricanes being on the Gulf side. Over time, the last couple of decades, the Gulf side gets as many storms, if not more, than the east side. And so it's been problematic. People move to places on the west coast and then end up deciding whether or not after the first storm or two, if they should move further inland to Orlando or other places like that, or move back like to places like North Carolina and Tennessee or wherever. So I just want to talk about this. This is a very interesting case study. Cape Coral, I've met some of their directors of economic development, and they're trying to diversify their housing types, because what they have right now is a pretty homogenous single family on canals and cul-de-sacs type community. And you could imagine that the swamp was drained with these canals, but this also makes them a little bit more susceptible to.
Matt.
Yes.
We have 3 new viewers.
Oh, hey, hello, new viewers.
Total of 5 right now.
Cool. Yeah.
But
so we're
talking
about Cape Coral as a case study. It's a very fascinating place. Very challenging. There is an attempt by the city to make some new commercial corridors. So you can kind of see as the city, as time went on, some of these vacant parcels, they started filling up, right? So this is 2006. So this is prior to the first recession, the Great Financial Recession. We'll skip ahead to later on. This is during the height of the recession, then kind of coming out of the recession. And you see it filling in slowly but surely. This is, I think it's called Seven Pines Road, which is where they plan on getting a lot more of their mixed use and retail and multifamily. But this is a tough market. They've really kind of painted themselves in the corner by saying we're going to be a bedroom community, and then when you look at where they're located, they're so isolated from adjacent communities. The major employment district is Fort Myers. So you got Pine Island, got some great recreational and tourism and stuff like that. But as far as like a community that you could have a job in, it tends to be Fort Myers. There are jobs, I'm sure, great jobs in Cape Coral,
and they get hit hard during hurricanes.
But they've gotten hit hard, and that's even another thing too, is that we can go on the Google Earth here, and we'll skip ahead a little, like I think in 2023, and now you see all the blue roofs. Every one of the blue tarps, although blue roofs are tarps, these are all houses.
That tells you right there. I mean, think about it. You're coming from out of state. You're out of state snowboard. You're a snowbird, and you are coming from New York, California, Michigan.
And you want your boat and your 2 cars, and you want to go boating every day. This is the place. You go boating every day. Every house has a boat slip behind it,
But when you see that blue tarp everywhere you go, and you look, and then when they look at a little bit of the news, a little bit of the history, it's like, it's a turnoff. It's a turnoff. Yeah. Who wants to buy a house knowing that it's going to get effed from a flood? And I mean, gosh, look, for people don't know, we're next door neighbors, right? Helped you buy your most recent investment property. Right. And I mean, gosh, our community is a prime example too of, even in Orlando, you have what's called flood zone people. So if you're buying a house, they are now required by law to provide you a flood disclosure, whether they are or not in a flood zone. But you got to understand that there are places even inland. If you're in Central Florida, there are flood zones. Like, fortunately, this house that I'm in is not in a flood zone, right? But my other property that I rented is in a flood zone. So there is and it's an AE. So that goes for both of our properties, right? And what comes with being in a flood zone like that, your lender is going to require that you have a flood insurance policy if you have a mortgage. If you own the house free and clear, it's your risk, right? If you get your property damaged by floodwaters and you try to go through your homeowner's insurance, they're not going to want to pay out a settlement. But if you have a flood insurance policy and your house gets flooded, it's disastrous, right? But that's what you're paying for insurance, is in the event of a disaster, or, you're covered. So there's a risk to buying in a place that already has issues like Cape Coral. And maybe you want to buy a property in Orlando, maybe it has a lot of land, maybe there's like more important stuff that ends up being the reason why you're looking at a particular property. And until you see that property, it's all a unique case by case. Every parcel is different. And it's really just a matter of due diligence, knowing what you're getting yourself into, understanding that in the beautiful world we live in, things happen. And we're in a market where we are prone to a lot of hurricanes, and it almost seems like deja vu every single time, where, we're approaching hurricane season now. And I mean, come on, people, if you've gotten to this point of our show, minute 57, 58, the stores are going to be bought up. The water is going to be gone. The TP is going to be gone. People are going to be crazy. And it's like, they're going to act like it's never happened before. So it's just one of those things of, like with anything, you just got to be prepared.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Alex. I want to just point out, so we were talking about this Rio Pinar community.
Thank you for bringing that up.
It's an older established golf course community.
One of the first in all of Orlando.
Yeah. And so there was this wetlands behind kind of our homes on.
I'm excited to see this. It used to be a lake, right? I don't think I've ever seen the actual. So this is the first time I'm seeing Google Earth go back in time to show what it used to look like. And I've heard from friends, people used to ride boats back here. And I know that it's owned by somebody that just kind of bought it for what they did and left it.
I don't have good imagery. I don't have good imagery past 1994, but you can see the lake has already started to kind of fill in right here.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And so by the time we enter the phase, it's kind of like grown over. It's like floating trees. Like they're just it's like debris and the trees trying to grow. But what's happened since then? So we had a bad flood in 22, and it entered a lot of people's homes. And so what's happened this summer though is that they've just buried a giant culvert down the entire Lake Underhill.
I saw them doing work over there. I see the Toll Brothers community across the street is developing further. But so what's going on with on the road? Are they adding a new lane? Are they fixing the stormwater drains? Like
we should dig into it more. Hopefully one of the viewers ends up having some more information on it. But to my knowledge, they're upgrading the sizing diameter of the stormwater, the stormwater culverts. They're making them bigger so they can have more capacity. So it should help alleviate the lack of supply that retention is giving us or not giving us. So it should make us less prone to flooding. So that should add value to our homes. So like anything else, some people have a tendency of buying high and trying to sell higher. Some people wait for the recession or the dip. You always want to buy something that has more value than hopefully you bought it for, right? So when somebody comes in and fixes a problem, whether that's you doing a renovation or the HOA or the city or whatever jurisdiction that makes your community more resilient, that's a good thing. So when I saw them working on the stormwater, and of course, like you mentioned, the Woodside Preserve Toll Brothers housing across the street, that made me feel a lot better about my purchase in Rio Pinar.
And I think for one of our next episodes, I think it'll be a great case study on the fact that how great design builds stronger communities. So after 22's Hurricane Ian and Rio Pinar Estates, a lot of the people that got flooded that did have their flood insurance payout settlements fully remodeled their houses. A lot of them ended up selling it, making a lot of money. And then of course there is the worst side of the story, which is the people who might have already owned their houses outright free and clear, but they didn't have flood insurance and they got, Avery's not around, right? They got absolutely fucked. Yeah. Along with everybody else who's been flooded without flood insurance. And it's crap, right? Imagine all your stuff. It's gone to shit. Your house is 2 feet of water and you have to take out all the drywall and you have to do all this remodeling just to get it back to livable condition. I mean, I couldn't blame somebody wanting to leave that. But yeah, no, I mean, the hurricanes are going to keep happening, people. And
well, and that was the other thing too, is that these last couple of hurricanes, they've hit the insurance companies so hard that we had so many insurance companies leave the state.
Yeah.
And so I forget the exact number. It's something like 90% or 75%, but something like 75% of all of the insurance claim value in the entire country is out of the state of Florida. And so they just, I know with the wildfires and things like that, it's probably maybe equalized a little bit more, but Florida was getting hit hard for every 2 years, 3 years since 2014 when we had the 3 or 4 hurricanes. And obviously before then we've had major hurricanes, but it just feels like it's gotten pretty bad. So I know a lot of insurance companies have stepped out, but now, and hopefully we have a quiet year this year, but as the insurance company or two that are still here are making lots of money on huge premiums, others are willing to dip their toe in and take some risk on. My point being though, is I wish that there was a way that we could publicly IPO our own crowd-funded public option of homeowners insurance, but it's a complicated thing. The cost.
You hear that, citizens? Do you hear that, citizens? You suck.
The citizens, open it up to the rest of us. We want to invest too. But seriously, the cost of borrowing money I think it's going to stay high for a very long time. I mean, everyone's asking or hoping that interest rates come down, and maybe the Fed can push down the short end of the curve on interest rates. But
let's talk about it though.
The cost of borrowing money is going to be high for a very long time.
Yeah.
And the cost of insurance is going to also be very high for a very long time. And if we had a public option where instead of investing in stocks and crypto, some of us could enter the market and put our money into insurance and get a 10% return, that'd be nice.
Oh yeah, right. If they did something like that, I mean, gosh, and with Trump in office, who knows? I wouldn't be surprised. I think that's actually a great segue into the last thing I'd like to talk about this episode, which is back to the rates, which is very important of a question. Should you buy or should you wait? I'm going to give my 2 cents, and Matt, I'd love to hear your perspective on somebody that isn't, you know, obviously in a position of sales like me, where, you know, I do what I do because I'm passionate about it, but I'm passionate because I believe in it and I know it works. And I have the experience. I have the people that I've worked with that, you know, I take great pride in what I do. So I think just because I've had this mindset since COVID, when I was seeing like the world upside down for the first time. I'm 29 now, but I mean, I was 24 in COVID. And when I bought my first house over there in Rio Pinar, it was a very scary thing. You know, I quit my first corporate job. I was with them for like 3.5 years. I felt undervalued. I bought that house because, I mean, I saw that the rates were at an all-time low. I didn't get in at like 2%, right? But I mean, no complaints at 3.25%. And shout out to Ace Lending Group for helping me back in 2020. They're the ones who helped me do my first mortgage. And it's funny that now, all these years later, I have a greater appreciation for the help that I received. And even now, having a broader understanding of this side of the business is, you know, there are people right now ready to buy homes, but they don't know that they're ready, or they don't think that they're able, right? And the reality is, you know, you're asking a bank for a mortgage. So the bank, unlike 08, isn't going to just give anybody a loan now. They're going to make sure that they're qualified. So how's their income? How's their credit? How's their debt? You know, you might think you need to make $120,000 a year to buy a $400,000 house, but in all actuality, you know, I've seen many cases where somebody makes $7,000 a month. They have zero debt, and they qualify for more than a person who makes over $10,000. So the reality is, just because you make a lot of money, if you have a lot of debt, when a bank sees that new house payment and they combine everything, they're going to be like, this is too risky, right? And that's why we have debt to income ratios. So I don't want to bore people on the first episode.
Nancy Grace.
What's that?
Thanks, Nancy Grace. Or, I don't know. What's the other guy's name that gives all Ramsey something? Dave Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey, but Dave Ramsey is more about like zero debt, say no to credit cards, don't use credit cards, they're cardinal sin. I personally, look, I think Dave Ramsey is great for a certain demographic of people who don't have certain discipline on like knowing when to not spend or when to save. And, you know, we do live in a different day now than back when he was a younger fellow. Or, you know, if you have a guy and a gal in today's day and age, I mean, it's not rocket science to know that it's more unaffordable now than it's ever been before. So no, don't go. That doesn't mean go max out the credit card. You need, you know, something to help you. But I personally never use my debit card. It stays home. I like the fact that my credit card insures me up to $1 million in fraud protection. So if I lose it, if someone steals it, if I see a $50,000 charge that's not mine, it's a completely different experience than hitting up your bank and saying your debit card has had fraudulent activity versus credit, you know. And why wouldn't you want to use their money, you know? And then not to mention that you will be rewarded when you use credit properly. Your credit will grow. You can get points. You know, I'm not going to give you Dave Ramsey advice, but for somebody who, and to anybody watching, grow your credit, be responsible. And if you're not responsible, take it slow. There's a reason why they give you a secured card when you first get a credit card, right? You're having to learn and develop good habits. And little by little, day by day, it might not seem possible in the moment, but you stick to it long enough and you'd be surprised what's possible.
Well, with that, I want to look at the FOMC rate tool real quick, give an objective view of what is actually happening with rates. So if you look at September 17th, we got the current Fed funds rate is set at at 4.25 to 4.50, 4.5%. So this is the 30-day Fed funds rate. Also, the overnight rate. This is what banks borrow at and other companies borrow at, so they can make payroll and things like that. And they pay it back really quickly. So they're paying 4.25, 4.50. It's kind of the base rate, right? So looking at September, they're saying there's almost a 90% chance, an 89.4% chance that will be cut by a quarter point. A day ago, it was a little higher. It was at 91%. A week ago, it was 10% lower, and a month ago, it was 40 or 30% lower. It was at 60. But what's interesting is that this is the first time in a long time that we've the chance of the rate cutting has gone up. It tends to be as we get closer to the time frame, the odds have gone down, meaning that the rate cuts have not come, which is, we keep on seeing these rate cuts get pushed out, partially because of inflation and partially because we're not seeing the unemployment rate tick up. So I do think it's kind of ironic that Trump got so upset with the bad jobs number, because it's like, bro, you need that. If Jay Powell's going to cut rates, he's going to convince the rest of them. You need some bad.
Is not doing well if he does that. And I mean, I know people are waiting. They want to have lower payments on their houses. They're using that as the principal factor in deciding to buy a home. But now here's the elephant in the room, people. Again, big takeaway here. Huge golden nugget. It's not rocket science. If they lower the rates, that dream home that you're looking at Zillow or keeping your eye on, and wondering what happens to it, it's been sitting on the market. I promise you it's going to change like that. And maybe it won't be as crazy as it was a few years ago, because we do have more inventory, but you will have a lot more demand, a lot more buyers entering the market. And that goes for smart money that's moving in now as we speak, regardless of rates. And that also goes for the people that have been on the sidelines. It's important to plan. If you can buy your first home now, if you have money saved, if you can do it, and you're just trying to, I want to just wait till the rates are 5%. I'll buy a house when the rate's 5.5%. Well, you're going to be paying more for that home, or you're going to be up against some competition that wants it more than you do. So I feel like it goes back to opportunities, right? Are there still any? Absolutely. There 100% is. In fact, there's more opportunity now, literally, than there has been in several years. Like, do you know what it means when a seller has, let's change this right here. Why older listings often mean better negotiating power. To all my friends, family, people that tune in, guys, if the house has been on the market for 100+ days and you like it, someone like me will strong arm the fuck out of that person. Okay. And they won't like me, but it's not my job to have them like me. It's my job to have you like me. And it's a better deal for you. Like, it's all around better. There's more room to negotiate. They don't want to sit on the market another month, risk it 2 months. If they're paying a mortgage, that costs them money. If it's costing them to keep it, they're more motivated. That money that they're spending they might not even live in the house. I've seen a lot of cases right now where sellers aren't even living in the properties that they're selling. They've already bought their new home. They thought that they would be able to sell their other property, and it's sitting, and they're more motivated than ever. So this is really a great time where, if you think home prices are high, look at those days on market. See the house you like. Stop looking at days on market. Are a good indicator of something's going on, right? Maybe there's something wrong with the house. Maybe it's an unmotivated seller. Maybe they're just emotionally attached, and part of them wants to let it go. Most part of them doesn't. So this can be great opportunity for someone that is in their 20s, early 20s, and they're buying their first home, or somebody that's in their 40s and they've not yet in their life got their first home, but they've been wanting to. They've been over the years preparing, and this is a great time. And here's why, and I'll wrap it with this. You not only can negotiate better, right? You have a good agent representing you, and your realtor will negotiate. They're going to make sure you get a good deal. And if you do it right, and you close on that house, and you wait, and you're patient, and you can afford that payment that you're getting yourself into, right? You could refinance. I know you've heard this before. If you're watching this, I know you know what I mean. Okay. You might already own a property and you're just waiting, like me. 8.125% rate, right? Office is Matt, you've seen my office at Pinar. It's literally the same freaking thing. It's like I just put it in another room. It's like the same thing, right? The difference, Pinar has a 3.25% rate and a $1,600 mortgage. This house is an 8.25% rate and a $1,900 mortgage. If I want to rent this house tomorrow, I'll make money on it, right? I'd put way more money into my other house than this one. But it's all my plan long-term is I want to have a lot of rental properties. And I believe that when you get, regardless of buyers or sellers markets, get a good deal, depending on what your goal is, it doesn't matter the market conditions. It matters that you don't just buy anything. It's not everything's a good deal. Even the house you like might be a bad deal. And for various reasons, a laundry list of them, from location being the main one to, you know, maybe it's too small. Maybe the neighborhood's not all that great. You know, maybe it's not close to a short commute to work. So with all the various reasons, you can really find the house that you love now, get a great deal on it, get your closing costs paid for by the seller, and you'd be in a lot better position than if you bought back when the rates were lower during 2021 or 22, where it was a shit show. It was an absolute shit show. You would have, I mean, granted, buying then, you'd be up now, but it was still a shit show for anybody that went through it. For any realtor that's watching, for any lender that's watching, for any buyer or seller that really went through that, you know how crazy people were. And a lot of it were out-of-state buyers with money because they can't. So
I also remember though in 2006, 2007, I remember a beach house going for 140, and then a few months later 250, and then a few months later 400, then 600, then 900, and then So I remember 2007 when people were buying houses on adjustable rate mortgages, their second and third home, and then they got caught with their pants down.
Yeah, and let's here. Opportunities. Let me share my screen and let's see. I'm going to pull up my MLS here. By the way, when do you want to call the live stream? An hour and 30 or?
Yeah, I think we should wrap it up sometime soon, and I think that
next like 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, and I think we can do it again, like you said, Monday or something like that. And
you know what? I think you're right. So we'll just come back to this. I will save this for another time. And yeah, I think what we can do now is just kind of like go over maybe what we talked about, what we're going to go over in the next episode. And yeah, I think it was a good first episode. A lot longer than I know planned for, but I mean, it's okay. We're learning, right? We're
learning to test pancake. Pancake got a little bit burnt maybe, but it's all right.
I'll still eat it. Give me good maple syrup.
Right.
All right. So this was episode 0, and we went over quite a bit. I doubt there'll be somebody that watches the whole thing, but if you do, thank you, because we appreciate you. We're doing this because we are passionate about what we do. Matt is great at design. Before he became my next door neighbor at his most recent investment property, he helped me design how I want my driveway to be. And I have, and if you visit our neighborhood, oh my gosh, just like circular driveways, like up and down the street, left and right.
Frame as a driveway. Okay.
But gosh darn it, they're not even freaking like some of them are like, you could tell that's an old driveway, like too much concrete to be done like within the last 5 years. But gosh darn it, when I saw your drawing, and I'll bring it in on one of the future episodes. Guys, like no shot. This dude took my sketch of a regular, like I used my iPad, used my little Apple Pencil, I sketched it out. I'm like, this looks great. I showed it to him, and he made my drawing feel like absolute like crap. I was like, I didn't know it could be that much better.
Yeah, we stretched We stretched 3 yards of concrete to finish like a 200-foot driveway. You know, it was
squarish. It wasn't even. You made it more rectangular than circular, and I was like, I don't know why I love this. I couldn't afford it if I wanted to do it at that time. It was like, gosh, it was like $20,000 worth of like concrete. But I'm like, you know what? One day, I feel like I do want to do it over there. That's a property I feel like would be worth adding it with how big the
maybe we do it with crushed granite, and we work with some friends and friends.
Oh man, if I could be affordable, I'll do it literally like within the next 6 months. But yes, everybody, hey,
all right.
and this is the Ground Up Show, episode 0. We're not calling this episode 1 because this is like a pilot of a pilot, and
We might even need another episode 0.
well, technically it's like episode 0.1 because
Yeah.
for anybody that did see the first before this, like we had technical issues and we were still kind of feeling up the flow. Matt did a lot better than me, but I was like, I didn't even realize we were live until like I had a process looking at the viewer after you said we had a viewer. But no, I'm really happy that we did this. I hope everybody has an awesome Friday, a great start to your weekend. May you be safe. May you have fun. God bless you. And if you guys have any questions, if you want us to talk about anything, feel free to send us a message directly on any social. You can comment on this video wherever you see it. Please, we're asking you if there's anything on your mind, put it out there and we'll work with it.
Exactly.
So if you have anything else, Matt, before we end the live stream,
no, that's it. Thanks a lot, Alex. This was fun. Can't wait till Monday.
Can't wait till Monday. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Bye.